Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where today I want to do something a little bit different and take a look at the latest article by Nicola Metfin, i.e. the most trustworthy Doctor Who leaker there ever was. In fact, calling her a leaker is probably slightly inadequate. She is one of the people at the Mirror who writes articles for Doctor Who, but more than that, she's the one who pretty much always gets everything right when it comes to Doctor Who. She got Graham and Ryan leaving, she got Jodie and Chris leaving, I'm pretty sure she got various plot lines with regards to Series 12 exactly right as well, such as Mary Shelley and a couple of others as well, The Timeless Child, Captain Jack. There are a couple of things around that time, and obviously she's also gotten things right more recently, including this. Now, this is not the first time I've seen this spoken about. I had seen this spoken about by Doctor Who filming locations as well, so I just wanted to give him a shout out, but I'm covering it now because this is the first time I've seen it covered by someone kind of in the industry and stuff. But essentially, the article is about Doctor Who episode 5 of season 2 being a Eurovision themed episode, an intergalactic Eurovision themed episode. And yeah, you can have a quick read of this, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the idea. So yeah, sit back, relax, and let's get into the article. Exclusive, Doctor Who to stage Eurovision in space in show's most expensive ever episode. The intergalactic version of the song contest will coincide with the real thing in May, and it's going to be massive according to the writer. Doctor Who will have a ridiculous Eurovision-themed episode set to air on the same night as the actual song contest from Basel on May 17th. And its writer has claimed it is the most expensive episode in the sci-fi show's 62-year history. And yeah, obviously this is in reference to a recent quote given by Juno Dawson, the writer for this episode, saying that it's the most expensive episode ever produced in Doctor Who. So I'm expecting big things. In the Swinging Special, which is the 5th of the new series, the Doctor and new companion, Belinda Chandra, played by Varada Sethu, become embroiled in an intergalactic version of the song contest. One source said, think Eurovision in space. There will be singing and there will be competition. Hey, there might even be a cameo from Graham Norton. Anything is possible. So, a couple of things to go over there. One thing that I think is probably raising alarm bells for a certain section of Doctor Who fans, the words singing special. Obviously, the idea of a musical episode isn't exactly new. Last year we had The Devil's Chord, but this seems to be a lot more overt with its musical theme. And I'm going to put my, neck out for Devil's Chord and say I actually quite enjoyed Devil's Chord. I know I think I'm in the minority there, but I actually had a lot of fun with it. I even, to a certain extent, sort of liked, as always, a twist at the end. Yes, the lyrics were not great, but you know what? It reminded me of those Doctor Who comic stories where the Doctor would just get into something so insane that would never be shown on TV that we actually got to see on screen. I don't know, the whole episode just had a really big, fun vibe to it. Is it a perfect episode? Not by a long shot, but I do genuinely have a lot of fun with it in that way. I do like the Maestro a fair amount too. So I'm actually not as against this as I've seen some people be. I've seen some people be very reluctant towards this idea, but I'm willing to, give it a shot because Juno Dawson is a very good writer. She's written a lot of stuff for the EU that's very good. So I think, I'm pretty cautiously optimistic, I'll say. But I know some people are a bit turned off by the idea of more singing and more, kind of musical elements. But I think doing a Eurovision tie-in episode makes sense. I know that there'll be some people who will argue that that's a bit cringe or, a bit too referential. But I do think it's worth remembering, especially in the first Russell era, this is not new to Russell to do at all. In Series 1, in Bad Wolf Parting the Ways, we had intergalactic versions of Big Brother and Weakest Link. So, to me, this fits right in with that. The episode to tie in with the action from Switzerland has been written by sci-fi author Juno Dawson. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is the idea of a cameo from Graham Norton. So, for those of you who are perhaps international people who don't know, Graham Norton is like the biggest talk show presenter in the UK. He hosts the Graham Norton Show for the BBC, which has pretty much the most insane lineups on a settee you could see, and they'll talk about their upcoming projects and other such things. It's really funny because people have remarked you'll have people from random British soaps sat next to Zendaya, and it's just kind of crazy, but it's a fun time. And Graham Norton has a very long history with Doctor Who. Obviously, he's interviewed many of the Doctors and companions in order to cross-promote the new series, but more than that, he's had quite an interesting history with the show itself. On 2 occasions, Graham Norton has accidentally interrupted episodes of Doctor Who. In the episode Rose, on first broadcast, an issue with the sound mix caused Graham Norton's voice to overlay, and then with the Series 5 episode, the first part of the Angel one, the scene where the Doctor shoots the ceiling and is giving his speech of, there's one thing you never ever put in a trap, me. Graham Norton comes along the screen at the bottom as a little cartoon character, being like, what's the Graham Norton show now? Which was, mocked following that event. And so, yeah, Graham Norton has a pretty long-standing history with Doctor Who. He's interviewed Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat multiple times as well. Seems to be good friends with them. So I think that if there's anyone that I could see having a cameo, I think that Graham Norton is fairly likely. I did also hear rumours of Rylan, who is another UK TV celebrity, potentially making an appearance in this episode. Take it that what you will, that's not 100%. But I did hear it from, again, I believe it was Doctor Who Film and Locations who said that. So, yeah, that's another thing I can add to this. The writer, who also hosts a Doctor Who spin-off podcast, added, I got to write the Doctor, I got to write Belinda. There's no limit to the imagination of the show. I think it's the best show ever made, and Juno 34 told fans, just you wait, the episode is going to be mahoosive. The show has a long history of nods to Eurovision. Last year, Ncuti Gatwa's full series of The Doctor launched on the night of the competition with 2 episodes, including one featuring the Beatles. The new series launches on April 12th with guest stars including Alan Cumming as the evil cartoon character Mr. Ring-a-Ding, plus roles for Slow Horse's favourite Christopher Chung and former EastEnder Rose Ayling-Ellis. I forgot about Rose Ayling-Ellis, that was announced weirdly long ago. But the series faces an uncertain future. This run ends on May 31st. Okay, I'm not escaping the Doctor Who cancellation rumours, I guess, with fans preparing for a gap of up to 2 years while BBC watches wait on Disney's official decision over whether to renew its deal with the franchise, thought to be worth 80 million. Okay, interesting. So the Disney deal for Doctor Who is worth 80 million. That's interesting. Or at least according to Nicola, who I do trust. One insider said gloomily, the decision won't be made until later this year, but everyone is preparing for the worst. That's not particularly reassuring, especially because I trust this a lot more than I trust The Sun, frankly. The Sun has a long history of just kind of making up stuff when it comes to Doctor Who. If Nicola Metvan says that the outlook is, preparing for the worst, that's something I take a lot more seriously. And it's her and other people who I trust saying things like this, which makes me a lot more skeptical of Disney renewing the deal, even though, as we covered in yesterday's video, the overall numbers for Disney seem solid. Again, I think it's an issue of a lot of Doctor Who fans not sticking around on the platform in the way Disney want. But I won't relitigate all that again because I went over it in yesterday's video. If you want a more kind of cohesive overview of the Disney deal and what's going on with that, feel free to watch that video. But Disney could reinvest all or part of the money. If not, the BBC must decide whether or not to rest the show, put it out to tender, or bring it back in-house to BBC Studios. Whatever happens next, the show's global audience faces a lengthy wait before the next TV episodes are written, filmed and edited, with no series possible for 2026. Instead, the spin-off The War Between the Land and the Sea is expected to air next year. Interesting, because this is the first time I've heard someone with good connections suggest the idea of War Between being pushed back. It's been a common fandom idea for some time that if we're not getting Season 3 in 2026, which given they're not going to be able to officially say whether they've got Disney funding or not, till at least May, seems pretty likely at this stage that they could push back War Between by a year, because we were told, I think, in a recent press release that War Between would be late this year, but I could totally see them pushing it back in order to plug a 2026 with potentially no Doctor Who series, which doesn't sound fantastic, but it's not actually the first time this happened. 2016 was a very similar situation where Class basically filled the year gap for Doctor Who whilst they figured out, what to do, and obviously Stephen Moffat went on to do an additional series after that point and then leave. So I think a similar scenario could very much happen here, and it wouldn't be ideal, but it's happened before, and it would be better than 2019 where we got Resolution and that was it for a year. That was dark times, man. That really was. We were going through the wars then. I do think it's worth mentioning there that Nicola Metvan says Disney could yet to reinvest all or part of the money. This is something that I've not seen many people discuss, and I do think it's a viable option. That Disney could invest a smaller amount than what they invested previously, maybe for one series instead of two, to finish off Gatwa. I think that's a fairly likely thing, but we'll just have to wait and see. But many fans remain bullish about the future of Doctor Who, with one saying, "It existed for 59 years without any Disney money, and it can certainly do so without it in the future. There will always be Doctor Who." And that is something I do agree with. I think that even if Disney pull out, I think Doctor Who itself as a franchise, as an entity, will likely continue. In yesterday's video, we talked about how they'd sold like 17 million sonic screwdrivers and action figures since 2012, and that was after what everyone sees as Doctor Who's absolute peak in popularity with the Tennant era. So yeah, I don't think that BBC will want to turn off that gravy train for love nor money, but I do think Disney will be more inclined to be like, well, we're not getting as much out of this as we wanted. Somehow I always end up going back to this. But overall, I'm actually fairly optimistic at the idea of a Eurovision episode. I know that it's not going to be for everyone, but Juno Dawson has a good track record, and I'm also really interested by it being the most expensive episode ever. I really hope that that means that we're going to get to see this team really show off some of that VFX money and kind of use it towards some prosthetics. One of the things I love about Doctor Who that I wish it did more is when you get to see a bunch of alien races interacting next to each other. In episodes like End of the World and Rings of Akaten, where you just get to see the breadth of alien designs in the universe, and it just makes you really feel like there's a universe out there going on that we're not even privy to, which is not something you feel as much when, you know, the same few monsters keep turning up. You know, your Daleks, your Cybermen, your Sontarans, etc., etc. It's nice to know that there are just some random ones out there that we just sort of end up seeing. It also does kind of remind me of the one Rick and Morty premise from way back in the day with the "show me what you got" heads. I hope you enjoyed that impression. But yeah, we'll see what it's like. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.